Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Tom Jarman, and counsel for Aaron O'Toole. I'm going to start with a question to which I expect your counsel will object, but it's a process we have to go through. So Section 21 of the CSIS Act creates a statutory process whereby the agency requests the minister to approve an application to federal court for a warrant. And in the course of that warrant, it's supported by an affidavit. That affidavit sets out the affiant's knowledge of the target and the affiant's reasonable expectations of the names of the individuals whose communications will be intercepted. I'll ask you, first of all, has anyone ever advised you of the name of an individual who's been mentioned in a warrant?
We would object to the question on the grounds of national security confidentiality in line with the objections made yesterday to the same question.
I've actually got a question for you, sir. In your reading of that specific act, what is the role of the Prime Minister in the granting of warrants for CSIS?
Well, in fact, I was going to make that point, is that neither the Prime Minister nor the Prime Minister's office is named in the CSIS Act or is even part of the warrant process. And so the question we're seeking to have answered is whether or not that information was passed on to your staff yesterday and yourself today. But I take the objection.
So the question is no.
Thank you. And I'd like to also the follow-on questions: who passed on the information, the context of the discussion, and what was done with that information, if the answer is yes. Thank you.
So it's noted.
I think we maintain the objection.
Yes, I appreciate that. In the course of your direct examination this morning, Commission Counsel took you to 3 items in which permission of yourself was sought by CSIS to brief parliamentarians. And for one reason or another, that issue never rose to your attention. And I guess the first question I would ask, to use your own words, what can the public service conclude when your office refuses to decide something? Because choosing to decide is a choice.
Well, first of all, in terms of those 3 instances, the third instance never actually materialized, so it's not an issue. The first instance got interrupted by the pandemic after a few months, and I think everyone can understand that. And the second instance, as my staff testified to yesterday, was busy being worked on by my staff until the point of the election call. They actually had, my office had questions back on that referred to briefing of non-parliamentarians who would be in an important role. So it was being worked on and didn't end up getting to me as the staff testified yesterday.
And in fact, this morning you said that the CSIS could well have gone to the Minister of Public Safety to have raised these matters with him because they had direct access to him. Is that that's consistent with your recollection?
Yes, the Minister of Public Safety is the minister responsible for CSIS, and they have regular meetings.
But I put it to you that this is just one instance of a pattern throughout this file in which CSIS doesn't go to the Minister of Public Safety. It goes to your office to seek approval with respect to matters. Is that accurate?
I'm not I can say with clarity that CSIS usually and often does go to its ministers. There are moments in which CSIS works directly with my office or orbit in the person of the National Security and Intelligence Advisor, but it is all part of the work that CSIS does.
There are at least 5 occasions that we're aware of where approval has been requested by the public service of actions either by your office or by Minister Blair or by Ms. Astravas. And the issue is raised, well, the public service didn't come back and is that actually a justifiable response when the public service asks for a decision?
Given the volume of work done by the public service, the number of requests to go through, it is usual for something that is particularly urgent or important to be elevated by the asking department when a certain amount of time is taken on responding to a file. As I said, the clerk raises that to me. The NSIA could raise that to me in any of our regular meetings, just like CSIS could raise it with the minister.
So if they don't ask twice, it's not important?
No. If they find that the usual course of affairs is taking longer than is necessary or than would be optimal for this particular issue they're concerned about, they will flag it and it will be prioritized.
I assume you've reviewed the Commission's first phase report and would agree with me that, in fact, foreign interference has been a serious problem in Canada since at least 2019.
Yes, that's why in 2018, we actually took a significant step on foreign interference and created the G7 Rapid Response Mechanism. This is something that we've been working on from the very beginning in terms of protecting Canada's democracy and national security.
So I'm going to touch on something that Mr. Van Oort raised, but from a different perspective. We've heard evidence from Mr. Morrison, Mr. Vigneault, and the Deputy Ministers of Public Safety about this conflict of views about what exactly constitutes foreign interference. If it's been a problem for 5 years, why does it take until July of 2024 for the deputy ministers to sit down and come to a common understanding of what foreign interference is?
Because when it comes to a matter like foreign interference, it is one thing to have a clear definition, which is actions of a nature that are either clandestine or illegal or covert by foreign government agents on Canadian soil or in Canadian institutions. It's another thing entirely to make informed judgments around whether something is simply interference, simply influence, or interference. And those debates they're not a bug of the process, they're a feature of the process. They are essential to continue to make sure we are adjusting to the new technologies, the new vectors of interference, the new realities as more countries do different things and other countries do less.
For you, Prime Minister, maybe I just don't understand, but since 2019, this has been a serious problem, and it's only in July of 2024 that the senior deputy ministers on this file are sitting down to come to a common understanding of what particular instance are foreign interference. And in fact, they never raised the issue with their ministers.
I completely object to your characterization of this. We started to become preoccupied with foreign interference during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, where it was obvious that foreign interference was a reality. We then saw it in the Brexit referendum in the UK. We saw it in the 2017 French presidential election, which is why we built the site task force and the panel of 5 to be able to defend Canada's election integrity and ensure that the subsequent elections in Canada in 2019, 2021, and all future elections are free from the foreign interference that impacts their outcomes. That is why we have taken, that is a demonstration, and there are many more, of how we have taken seriously foreign interference from the very beginning. Like G7 in 2018 had a significant mechanism created around that, and we've continued to do more and more on that. So I can't speak to some meeting of deputy ministers that may or may not have happened at the right time. That is something for the officials involved to ask about.
Well, I appreciate that the government is using the word foreign interference with respect to its discussions from 2016 on. But if there's not a common understanding about what those words mean, how can the government be actually doing anything?
I'm sorry, at the danger of repeating myself, when we created the rapid response mechanism for the G7, to be housed in Canada around our 2018 Charlevoix G7. There was a clear understanding that acting against foreign interference was a goal that we set out and actually took concrete action on. So I would completely refuse your contention that we didn't know what foreign interference was and weren't acting on it from the earliest days of this government.
I'll conclude with this question. When there's this fundamental disagreement in 2022 between Mr. Morrison, who at that time was acting as our NSIA, and Mr. Vigneault, who was the director of CSIS, about what constitutes foreign interference, why wasn't the issue raised to the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Global Affairs to sort out?
I don't know that it wasn't raised. I can certainly say that discussions around foreign interference were ongoing within many departments in this country, in this government, particularly those of foreign affairs and public safety, as well as being raised within my office and at PCO.
Well, there's certainly no evidence of that dispute being raised in the disclosed documents, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.